Morning, Mike.
Good Shabbos, good morning. We have a great crowd. It's so appreciated. It's so appreciated. To begin, thank you for like an out-of-body experience last night. Pretty weird, pretty amazing. And to be in a place for so long and to be you know, so blessed. I really am the luckiest rabbi in America. So it's pretty awesome. And to have you know, friends and all my family who came today here is the added bonus. It's like the icing on the cake. So it is with deep gratitude, right? That I get to study Torah. And you'll see when I did this a week or two ago, I thought I really should quote myself as a young rabbi. That would make sense. So I did find I just looked at one thing and I said, look at that. I was so smart as a kid. I mean, I had something to say. But don't look yet. Don't look yet. Don't look ahead. Don't look, because I know you Jews, you people, right? And by the way, if you're in the room, everybody's Jewish, right? You heard Milton last night sing Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. Right, right. As far as that, Milton was Jewish last night, and he still remains Jewish. He's a pastor on Long Island. Used to be the music minister for our friend the Bishop Powell for Wayne. But just to have all those people there last night celebrating was pretty crazy. Well, we have Torah to study, and it's great Torah. Surprise! Share with me in the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Share Ishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot v'divrei Torah. Amen. Now I'm going to mute the people online because I can. Or where's the mute thing? How do I do this? I forget. Participants? I got participants? No. How do I do the mute thing?
Right on the website, mute all.
Oh, mute all. Where is that?
All the video chat is.
Where my chat is. On the left side. Oh, mute. No, that'll mute. No, that's not good. Oh, mute all. There you go. All right, there we go. Thank God for Raj. I'll tell you right now. So we have great Torah. You know this story. It's a story we all know well. Every year when we read the stories, they're different because we're in a different place. And so as we go in the cycle of our lives, the stories mean something different to us because they speak to us at a different moment on our journey. And so this just spoke to me this year for all kinds of reasons. And when we get to the Drash Sod, the inner meaning of the text, you were related to all the things and as to how this text is speaking to you. You know, but for sure, it's highly resonant for this moment in time. So this is, you know, the backstory. This is Toldot. It's the birth of twins, which I stayed away from last night. In chapter 25, verse 19, one, you know, Rebecca favored Jacob, but Isaac favored Esau because he had a taste for game, right? Among other reasons. We then get chapter 20. They grew up. We get the blessing, the birthright exchange for a bowl of lentil stew or some kind of stew. Esau's hungry. We then get chapter 26, which is Isaac the well digger. We get 27, which is the real high point in the big third scene, which is the switcheroo with Jacob stealing the blessing or getting the blessing, depending on how you want to look at it. And so that's really going to be our focus of him finishing getting the blessing and then Esau coming in. And I think it will speak volumes to us. So I'm gonna start right here. We're gonna go right around with the text. This is after Isaac has already said, wait, I'll tell you. Isaac has already said insignificantly, which of my sons are you? You don't have the text, but I'm telling you, you remember. He said, I am Esau, your firstborn. Though he may have been saying something else. We're not sure. and then Isaac said, questions him. Eventually he says, come closer. And what does Jacob say when he comes closer? He says, Hakol kol Yaakov v'hayadayim yedei Esav. The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. So Isaac, it seems, is either in the dark or complicit in this moment. We don't know. We just don't know. So we pick it up in 24 with the exchange of blessing. All right, please.
He asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And when he said, "I am," he said, "Serve me and let me eat of my son's game, that I may give you my innermost blessing." So he served him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Come close and kiss me, my son." And he went up and kissed him, and he smelled his clothes, and he blessed him, saying, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of the field that the Lord has blessed."
Right. So he smells him and he confirms who he is. Remember, he has on maybe Esau's stuff, or he has on furry arms because Esau was all hairy. Jacob was a smooth guy, right? He had been a smooth operator as well. And then he gives him the blessing. Susan.
May God give you of the dew of heaven and the fat of the earth, abundance of new grain and wine. Let people serve you and nations bow to you. Be master over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow to you. Cursed be they who curse you. Blessed be they who bless you.
So gives him the blessing, and then we get this very sort of stage direction line, which is, go ahead.
No sooner had Jacob left the presence of his father Isaac, after Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, then his brother Esau came back from his hunt. He too prepared a dish and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father sit up and eat of his son's game, so that may give me your innermost blessing." His father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I am your son Esau, your firstborn."
Right. So he answers quite directly, not in a cagey way as Jacob answered before. And what is Isaac's reaction to this? Arnie.
Isaac was seized with very violent trembling. "Who was it then," he demanded, "that hunted game and brought it to me? Moreover, I ate of it before you came, and I blessed him. Now we must remain blessed." When Esau heard his father's words, he burst into wild and bitter sobbing and said to his father, "Bless me too, father." But he answered, "Your brother came with guile and took away your blessing." Said, was he?
That Esau said, yeah, just so we know it's Esau, yeah.
Esau said, "Was he then named Jacob, that he might supplant me these 2 times? First he took away my birthright, and now he had taken away my blessing." And he added, "Have you not reserved a blessing for me?"
Right, so Esau is pressing pretty hard, and Isaac is holding back here. As dad. Now he's already given him the blessing, and something maybe is implied with that. Not sure. And finally, what does Isaac say to him? Go ahead, Harold.
Isaac answered, saying to Esau, "But I have made him master over you. I have given him all of his brothers for servants and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I still do for you, my son?" And Esau said to his father, "Have you but one blessing, father? Bless me too, father." And Esau wept aloud. And his father Isaac answered him, saying to him, "See, your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth, and the dew of the heaven. Yet by your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. But when you grow rested, you shall break his yoke from your neck."
All right. Great blessing. Right? And it doesn't really go, from there. It's, Esau harbored a grudge against Jacob. Jacob got the heck out of town. And Esau said, it's a good thing he's gone. Otherwise, yeah, big trouble. Right. So the key koshi here, our key question and focus is, how does Isaac's blessing bestowal pave the journeys of both his sons? And you remember our covenant learning theme this year, which is, "And you shall be a blessing." So what do we learn from Esau about being a blessing? because I think Esau is our primary teacher this week, in the text. So on a shot level, relating to that, the nature of what just happened, this exchange. What is Isaac's bestowal of blessing saying to us? How does he pave the journeys of his sons, both of them? And what is Esau trying to teach us here? Because he's teaching us something important.
I think he's teaching us that he was tenacious. He didn't let it go. He really felt that there was something that his father could do, even though he had given him everything else.
So he's persistent, he's very present, and tenacious is a good word. Excellent. What else are you getting from this text that is like either disturbing or or it makes you question? Because there's a lot of things in there that makes me, especially the family dynamic of Israel, which is so messed up.
I'm just surprised. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I am. Now we bless each child separately, but in those days, I guess it was the eldest who got the blessing or the inheritance or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was always been surprised when Esau says, "Don't you have a blessing for me?" And I thought, well, why wouldn't there be a separate blessing?
Yes. Yeah. Why wouldn't there be another blessing? Yeah. Excellent. Stephanie.
If the tricksters always win.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Right, which is I think a great.
Not only in the Bible.
Yeah.
Tricksters win.
Yeah, in life, right. He said the tricksters always win. It's a title of his new book. The tricksters always win. Yeah, what does Jacob's name mean? Supplanter, the guy who trips you up. David.
So I think at the beginning of the whole situation, Isaac actually knew it was Jacob, and he asked so many questions, and then he knew that Jacob was going to have to be alienated, and Esau later on was going to be followed.
Yeah. So I mean, if Isaac knew and he's part of it, it makes it a little bit like poor Esau, right?
He wanted Esau to work really hard.
Yeah, we're going to work really hard and didn't want him to be the guy who was going to be, inherit the line of Israel, right? Esau was not the guy, right? And who knows what Rebecca is doing with all this, because the women are always in charge. I don't want to be sexist or gender insensitive, but there's no question, right? Rebecca had something to do with this.
So, Robert, two things. One, I think he's incorrect where he says that he took my birthright away. I think he gave it to him. So I don't think that it was, so he's a bit dishonest here. The second thing is, I think not Esau, but Isaac, he was also, because previous to this, Isaac and Rebecca, they are kind of like, I guess if I were to use the word quetching, about Esau saying that, oh my God, he basically married a Hittite woman or some.
Yes.
So they were troubled by his attitude there as well.
So maybe they've determined based on his actions, Esau really isn't the guy. He's not the one to inherit. He just isn't the one. I got Michael and Virginia. Virginia had her hand up first, though. Virginia, then Michael.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the nature of the blessing. This is to me a very, very disturbing portion, because I can feel the sorrow of Esau, but it's an interface with something that goes beyond. A blessing is something that somehow he cannot withdraw. I could say, hey, you liar, here, this is your blessing. That cannot be done. That cannot be undone. And that is where I really want to know more.
Yeah, so why is it that once we bless, it can't be undone? So maybe because a blessing is, does it come from the heart? It's almost preordained. What is it about the nature of blessing, right? Which I think is very powerful. Michael.
I understand that in the second blessing, the blessing of Esau, he can't repeat that you will be master over all. But why can't he repeat, blessed be those who bless you and cursed be those who curse you?
Yeah, well, the answer is I don't know. But if he's already given that blessing to Isaac, who he thought was Esau, he cannot give the same blessing. The exact same blessing. Right. All right. Michael, by the way, doesn't agree. Okay. Lise, then Arnie, then Dave, and then Clarence.
So a couple of things, the blessing is saying, blessing of my soul, and the Hebrew, the innermost blessing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of nice, and then he's, when they were talking last night about Panay, he's leaving the face of his father, Panay Yitzchak, and like, and I have a question, is serve me and the closeness both the same word when he's coming close?
Tell me where you are. What verse?
In 25 and
25.
and in 26.
Hagisha li,
Yeah.
Hagisha Hagish, right?
and then-
V'tavarecha v'nafshi, Vayagesh lo. Yeah, it's approach. It's all about approach.
So it's coming close.
Coming close, not karev, but coming close. And then, and it's Vayigash, right? On 27, same verb keeps repeating.
Because it's like goes along with the blessing of my soul.
Yeah, blessing. So it's
That closeness.
something very close. Arnie.
You know, as disturbing as the behavior of the various players are here, in a way, I think Isaac, not only did he know what he was doing, but he allowed the two brothers to go to places that they ordinarily would, in a way, maybe he helped them become more than who they were supposed to be.
So who knows? Maybe as a parent, he was pushing them to go beyond their comfort zone. Maybe. Okay.
But can you imagine as a father of twins ever doing anything like that?
No. But I'll get there, because you'll hear my thoughts in 1987, and I was the father of a twin, right? Dave, then Clarence, then Simon, last one.
Maybe to understand better the why blessings can't be shared or given again. What is the Hebrew for the word innermost there? Because I think that's.
Yeah, we're in innermost. At least you just looked at it.
Yeah,
Jacob said-
it's,
First Jacob says it in, I think,
25.
27.
Yeah, so 25. So he says,
Isaac
And it's
says it, then
repeated
Jacob says
again.
yeah, it says, well, you got for your now 20, is it 25? Oh, yeah, Tivar, yeah, it's Tivarechecha nafshi. So I may give you the blessing of my soul.
And
Ah, so
31
that's what
also.
Yeah, so when you give the blessing of your soul, it's hard to say, you know what, I got another soul. So that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Clarence,
From a staging standpoint, you're a playwright.
yes,
You're giving somebody a blessing, this is all in private, one-on-one.
yes.
How would all the other people who are supposed to agree, I would say, oh, okay, this person's the head now. So that's a question.
Yes.
Just from a stage.
Yeah, no, it's a very, right? So what would have been to stop Isaac from saying, nobody knows, right? All right, it's a blessing, it's a one-on-one, it's in my tent alone. Who knows? I can give him the same, but nobody's gonna know. So they both think they were blessed. Big deal, right? So maybe, right? So maybe there was room there, right? Simon.
I was going to pick up on that same point. It seems such a trivial location, situation for what is a significant part of your life. When you say as a disappearing individual and you give your blessing, it's a significant moment.
Yeah.
This is just a trivial setup.
What's the setup? What do you mean by trivial setup?
Come in, I feel like some food, now I'm gonna give you a blessing. Oh yeah, you got another one here.
Yes or no? I'm gonna comment that in a minute. Before I talk, Philip really is the last. We gotta get to the text.
Just so you're gonna say, we can think of this in terms of a play, but if this blessing means anything at all, then it matters what's said, whether it's in private or not. The idea is that God's power and authority is behind this blessing. And anyway, we know about this blessing. We have it in front of us. That means it wasn't in private somehow. We know about it. Right?
Right. Well, they had the blessing stenographer. That was, but I would say this to you, to underscore, right? So who does the blessing come from? Comes from dad, but somehow it emanates from God. And so this is beyond human. And it's not a trivial moment because Isaac set this up. Arnie knows. Isaac set this up. He set it up not maybe for the switcheroo, but he certainly set it up because he knew he's old. His eyes are dim. He can't quite see the way he used to, but he has inner vision. And in order to consummate a blessing, what do you have to do? You have to have a meal. So that's what this is, a sacred moment. So, and it's not a deathbed scene, but it's certainly a tent moment scene. So now we get all this. So how do we understand what Isaac does as it paves the journey of his sons? And especially, what do we learn from Esau? Look at the remez. Doing great. So this is a key moment. When I taught this text on Thursday at HUC to my 5th-year students, the senior rabbinic students in cantorial class. And I quoted myself from 1991 or 2. I was the scholar in residence, the rabbi in residence, not scholar, sorry. The rabbi in residence at HUC for the week. So they would rename a rabbi, I was a young rabbi, but I named a rabbi and I was in residence and I spent all week there before I taught at HUC. And I gave a sermon on this portion. And it's a really nice midrashic moment because it's possible to see this, as Clarence intimated, as a play. And in the play, there would be a tent flap going in and a tent flap going out that says in and out. And just as Jacob, dressed like Esau with an empty tray, is going out, he turns and his brother Esau is coming in with a full tray. And he says, "Hi." And runs the hell out of it as fast as he can, right? So this is one of those moments, right? So there's all kinds of midrashim, but you're going to see this is that moment of, right? It's the moment in the play where you being in the audience, right? You see behind the scene.
Yeah.
So take a look now. So and watch who the rabbis of old, most all of them, right, favor and how they try to twist the text. It's very telling, right? So the Or Chaim is Chaim ben Attar, 18th century. Whenever the word Vayehi is used, it's a code word. Who's reading? Lois, can you read that? The Or Chaim.
Torah uses Vayehi.
Vayehi.
Which is explained as introducing an impending law. By implication, Torah means that Torah mourns the fact that had Isaac not stopped in blessing Jacob, but rather conveyed upon him the additional blessing he later conferred upon Esau, then Edom, that is Rome, would have been without my semblance of life.
Yeah. What is Or Chaim saying? He's just being so heavy-handed here, right? Esau was Adom. He was red, right? Right. He was Admoni, it says in the text. So the word red in rabbinic parlance is associated with Edom, which is the eternal enemy of Israel. And who is that in the first century? Rome. So what is he saying? He's saying that because the verb that they use is kila, which means to be interrupted or to stop or to be sort of cut off. So in that sense, if he kept giving the blessing, our enemies would have never had any hope against us. Right? I don't know what the heck, where he gets this. Right? I don't know where he gets, but he's trying to put Jacob out there as the chosen son, the chosen one. So this is only Rashi is actually pretty even-handed. Look at the Rashi. Rashi's telling Steve.
This one left as this one entered.
Ze Yotzev v'Zeba.
Text of Reggio de Cola.
Right, the first Hebrew translation, the Hebrew text of Bible printed in like 1475. So this isn't Rashi talking. It's Rashi's editors talking. So they add this sentence to Rashi because he implied it. Go ahead.
Edition has the word in the heading. Thus, the leaving is limited, implying just gone out the door. According to the other early editions, Jumit altogether, it can be seen as referring to the Midrash, saying Jacob stood behind the door as Esau was entering, and then left the room behind Esau's back.
Yeah, I underlined behind Esau's back. Because this implies Jacob is still Jacob. Jacob is one sneaky, cunning guy, right? He knows how to maneuver. He knows how to, Esau is what you see is what you get. Esau is just, he's a beautiful lug. He's or just a real person, right? He has no pretense, right? Jacob, he's dressing up to play a part. And he gets accomplished what he hopes to do, or maybe what his mother hopes to do. The Shem Yishmuel is the Sokochover Rebbe, early 20th century Poland, the Rebbe of Sokochov, Hasidic, but also he wrote a brilliant Torah commentary, and he's playing on the Midrash. And again, you just see where the rabbis go with this. Carol.
Esau came back from hunting, as the Midrash says, armed to entrap his soul. It is not entirely clear whose soul was intended. We may suggest that it was Jacob's soul. At this stage, before he knew that he'd been usurped by his brother, Esau believed he would have everything inheriting both the physical and spiritual from his father, thus eliminating Jacob from the picture. But then when he entered, realizing he was not the chosen son, discovering Jacob had already received the spiritual blessing, his world fell apart. At that moment, Esau should have realized he was at fault, that this calamity had befallen him through his own personal deficiency. But he was Esau.
Absolutely.
Perfectly done. A man who felt no need for self-improvement or change.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, really. I think to myself, man. Right. So his name is Esav, and the rabbis misread Esav and they add a yud to it, and you can read Asui, which would mean all done. So he was born all done. So you could see that in a lot of ways. Majority of the rabbis see that as impossible, right? He had no potential for change, is what they said, right? Or you could see it as he didn't have to pretend to be anybody else. He was just himself, all done, right? Mike and Clarence.
Yeah, I just want to mention it's surprising to me that there's just no focus on the content of Isaac's blessing of Esau, because he seems to be encouraging sibling rivalry, and there's something almost subversive.
How interesting is that? Yes, we're going to come to that. We're going to come to the content, and also when we get to the drash of, like, are these blessings that different? And what is he doing by doing this? So yes, the answer is yes. Clarence.
Small point.
Yeah.
Small. You can't actually bargain your blessing away, or a blessing that you might get in the future away, the way from the soup of lentil previously Esau had done, right, with Jacob.
That's correct.
So it's actually not, it is not consequential. That
You can't give it away.
you can't give a future blessing that he's supposed to have because he's the firstborn to.
Right. There is only one blessing of the Bechor, right, of the firstborn. There's only one. The question becomes in the text.
But it comes from the father, Jacob, Isaac, to the firstborn.
Right.
The firstborn. So is he saying that once I receive that blessing in the future from our father, I will then give it to you because you gave me the soup of lentil? Is that even possible? I'm saying in religion.
No. In terms of no, not possible. So what? And that's why Isaac. In a minute, we're going to see Isaac's response. Right. Ellis.
I was going to say that, in the course of developing the narrative to get you to try to decipher the allegory, it requires something that sets the action in motion. And the action in motion is, I'm going to trade this for this. I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me that. And that sets everything in motion, even though it doesn't really make sense. I don't think it needs to make sense, because that's what we call follow where the accent goes.
Yes, and here, in fact, it runs it's counterintuitive. So we think, right, we know what's happening because we read ahead in the text, we read this a lot of times, but you would think that Isaac, in responding, right, he could say, listen, I blessed the other kid, sorry. Okay, I got nothing. Yeah, that's the rule. Like, look at the rule book. This is the rule book. This is it. But Isaac is pushed in a big way. So look at this verse, this is key. Isaac said to him, who are you? Right? He said, I am Esau, your firstborn. And then Vayechara, I'm on the top page verse 33. Vayecharad Yitzchak charada gedola. Then Isaac trembled a great trembling. And he says, and I love the way they translate it, where is he? The one who brought and I ate. I blessed him, now he must remain blessed. So the idea of once you give that blessing, that is a unique blessing, and it's God-given in some way. It's channeled through the parent, but God-given.
But
Right.
that blessing is cursed.
Well, is that blessing cursed? That's the question.
Yeah,
Right?
it is. It was stolen, and the recipient of that blessing, does he ever say to himself, this is wrong? I can't do this, but obviously not.
Well,
he
so-
lives with that.
Well, he lives with it, but let's watch what happens in the text. So watch how the rabbis now, we're gonna get a little more sympathy for Esau and some more, maybe not so even hands in this. So who's up? Judy's up. So look at the Ramban. The Ramban says about this.
Isaac thought that this might be Jacob, who, having heard that Esau was to be blessed, also prepared and brought a meal so that he too would receive blessing.
Right, so just like David said, maybe Isaac is sort of like anticipating all this, right? And he just mistook, right? So, but that would mean that he knew Jacob was going to try to pull a fast one. Maybe. What is Isaac's response to all this? Right? Charada. Charada is like fearful trembling. Right? So this is how the Israelites responded to Sinai that was shaking, right? The mountain trembled. So look at the Rashi and then the super commentary on Rashi. Chris, would I read this?
Yeah.
The Rashi. Vayecherad, he trembled.
This is to be understood as.
Onkelos. Onkelos is the 2nd century Aramaic translation of the Bible, the Targum.
He was astonished. The Midrash, however, relates that he trembled, for he saw
Gehinom.
open beneath him.
What is Gehinom?
Hell.
It's hell. It's Gai Chinom on the left side of the old city of Jerusalem. It is the valley that we saw, right? That David Leshnick, our tour guide, said, why is this called Gai Ben Chinom? This is where they used to sacrifice firstborn children. That's the city. So, firstborn children they sacrificed there. How interesting, right? Now, Gur Aryeh is 2 centuries after the Rashi. What does the Rashi say, Freddie?
Terror is a true description. When Esau entered, Isaac perceived Gehenna opening beneath him, but that is the punishment he feared awaited him.
Why did he fear it awaited him? Because he blew it. Because he blessed the wrong kid. Because he was too blind, physically, metaphorically, psychospiritually, to see. Right? How?
I hate to say it, but he was almost sacrificed, wasn't he? This Isaac guy.
This Isaac guy.
Yeah. So,
you know, in the UFC, which I watch with my son, my daughter's fiance, but he's like my son Tyler, right? Everybody has a nickname. Like, so they introduce it like, so Jose, so Harry's UFC nickname or his Torah fighting nickname would be Harry the Akedah first.
So Isaac survived that as the firstborn, the only born, but he wasn't. He had a brother and now is repeating this. I can't read this and believe Isaac doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I can't believe, I think Isaac knew what was going on the mountain as well.
Yeah.
Even if Abraham didn't.
Yeah.
And I can't believe that he doesn't know. He could say, I know this whole theory, promise induced by fraud is not binding. So this is fraud. It can't be binding in that sense.
But Harry,
He wants it to be.
But the implication here, isn't the implication here that Isaac too is now performing a sacrifice?
Yes, he is choosing as he was chosen.
So we get maybe one, the Gor Aryeh on the Rashi that says, maybe Isaac is really the guy at fault here, or the guy we have to say, you know, this whole thing is orchestrated by his manipulation, either knowingly or quasi-knowingly. What's the secret order? I mean, there's a battery to edge. Pick that. Go to the Chizkuni. The Chizkuni. That's much better.
Rabbi, can I just-
Yeah, Philip.
If it's knowingly, then why did he tremble?
Yeah, either because, so I don't think it's knowing. I'm not sure. I'm struggling with it. He could be trembling simply because he knew the moment was coming when his other son would walk in. Because he asked him to do it. So he didn't know how to respond, and he just almost like a gut, you know. So maybe look at the Chizkuni, right? Because the Chizkuni, I love what this is. So he trembled. Freddie, read that too.
Thinking that the all-knowing acquiesced in the supplanting of the firstborn.
Right. So I love that the Chizkuni says, "Oh, this was all God. Just blame it on God. This is God doing it. Don't worry about it. It's all God's will." Right? You know, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Even if it was a God-given blessing, we are still the ones who, you know, orchestrate, how it unfolds. Do we need this? Suspect him. Look at the Rashi, Jane. Look at the Rashi underneath the Radak. Gam Baruch here, which is so he must remain, right? He will always be that blessing or be blessed.
This phrase is so that we should not say, had Jacob not deceived his father, he would not have taken the blessing. This then tells us Isaac consented knowing, adding, this one too, and not you shall be blessed.
Yeah, so the majority of rabbis, especially medieval rabbis, and those are the primary commentators, think Isaac knew just what was going on. They think, oh, no, Isaac is in on this. This is part of the plan, right? We don't get the bedroom conversation of Isaac and Rebecca. Rebecca, is leaning up on her pillow and saying, that Isaac is our boy. Esau's a lovely kid, but God forbid that he should, be the temple president. I mean, that's not going to happen. And so somehow it seems that blind as he is, Isaac is purveying all this, right? He is pushing it forward. Maybe not so knowingly. I like to give the benefit of the doubt. So your kid comes to you after you've given away the blessing that was meant for him. And if you look at the blessing that he gave, think about this. What if Esau got this blessing? Right? God will give you dew of the heaven, fat of the earth, abundance of new grain with wine. People will serve you. Nations will bow down to you. You'll be master over your brothers. Your mother's sons will bow down to you. Cursed be they who curse you. Blessed be they who bless you. What does it sound like? It sounds like what Genesis 12, it's exactly the metaphor that we've been using. This sounds like the blessing of Abraham by God, right? Through you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. And it's quoting it directly, right? Blessed be those who bless you, cursed be they who curse you.
No, there'd be no Joseph.
Say it again.
There'd be no Joseph.
This
is Joseph's dream.
Yes, this is Joseph's dream. Yes.
And if Esau got it, there'd be no Joseph.
Yeah. So what I'm putting out there,
we wouldn't be in slavery for 400 years.
Right.
And all this good things.
Right.
Thank God.
Since we read ahead, we know this has to go to Jacob. Otherwise, the family lineage will not unfold as we know it's supposed to. David.
I still want to rewind back to his question over there with the hat. Based on Jewish.
Yeah, by the way, I just followed the hat. It's sort of easy time.
That's my UFC
Clarence, yes.
So going back to, the laws and the rules of Judaism, can someone other than the firstborn really receive that blessing?
Here's the irony. In every it's not even Judaism.
I want to be rabbi right now. I can't be
Right. You could be a rabbi. So the ancient Near East and certainly the Middle East, the progenitor, right? It went to the oldest son. That was the way it worked. The oldest son, usually child, but really son, inherited the family. It wasn't Judaism. It was the ancient Near East. But in every generation, right, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, it's the younger one who gets it. So we are, if nothing, we are troublemakers, if nothing else, as Jews, right? Always doing this. Steve.
So this is a point that I didn't realize is that the blessing at the very end, but when you grow restive, you shall break his yoke from your neck.
Yeah.
Those two come together at a certain point. And if that was his chance to break his neck or do something.
Yep.
They hug. And so to me, it speaks volumes
Yeah.
about who Esau is.
Yes.
Even though we're all being.
Oh my God, volumes, right? So what gets Dad to finally realize maybe there's something else he can do here, right? Esau has to cry 3 times. The big, strong man of the field, the hunter, he has to, and so Esau heard his father's words and burst into bitter tears. Bless me too, father, right? And the Malbim is pretty obvious, right? Who's up? Steve.
Where's this? The crying 3 times.
I'll show you in 1 sec. I'll show you in 1 sec. Just so what does the Malbim say? Thank God somebody 18th century Germany is saying is a little bit on top of it. Do you see that, Steve?
Sure, the Malbim or the.
The Malbim, yeah, the Malbim.
Should not a father be able to bestow blessing on all of his children?
Yeah, yeah. So Esau cries, let's see. B'chocha Esav, right, V'yachal, V'yacharad Yitzchak Agdolah, V'yomer Mi Epo, Mikol, maybe it's twice, but Larry Hoffman said it was 3 times. But Yitzchak, he cried. So 34, he cries a great cry. And then in V'yomer Karash Mo Yaakov, and then he cries again in let's see. Let's see, where else does he cry? But again, Ephraim 70, Vayomer Esav, Aviha Bracha Achat. And then he cries again at end of 38, right? Maybe it's just twice, but I could have sworn it was 3 times. But he certainly cries aloud at least twice. The Seforno, because what does he say? He says at the end of 36, Vayomar, and he said, Hello, Atzalta li bracha, right? Didn't you save a blessing for me? I mean, that is the ultimate pain of a parent, right? To be able to say, you mean you got nothing left for me? What a painful moment, right, for Isaac. And what does the Sforno say? Ovadia Sforno, right, Michelle?
Even though you intended to bless me with the superior blessing, you certainly did not intend to bestow everything on me and leave my brother Jacob devoid of your blessing. You must have reserved something. Couldn't you give me that blessing?
So what is he saying? I'll take the second-rate blessing you were going to give Jacob. Oh, so you mean you're telling me that if Esau came in before Jacob and got the blessing, when Jacob came in a little late, dressed like his brother, his father wouldn't say, all right, come here. Really? He wouldn't have something for him? The son that was supposed to inherit? I think so.
But he wouldn't give him that blessing. I mean, it disturbs me terribly. Yet you by your sword shall you live. And that's after he knows that Jacob is still in the vicinity.
Right, so, right, all right.
So he wouldn't have given that blessing to Jacob.
Right,
for sure.
so maybe he gave the blessing meant for Jacob to Jacob, and the blessing meant for Esau to Esau, right? Maybe.
But it could be, I mean, because some of the language here is the same as the language in the blessing, the first part of the blessing to Jacob.
Yes, yeah.
So the first part of the blessing to Jacob is, may God give you, that's not in the blessing to Esau, of the dew of the heaven and the fat of the earth. Okay, so let's look at this next one on 39. See, your abode shall enjoy the fat of the earth with the dew of the heaven above. Okay, so you'll be getting physical, material goods. And I read 40 to be based on your own efforts.
Yeah, so if you are, yeah, it is very different. And let me just, I'm gonna cut to the chase on it because of time. What's the primary difference between the blessing he gives to Jacob, meant for Esau, and the blessing he gives to Esau?
Physicality.
God.
God.
God is not in the second blessing. It sounds like he doesn't break the rules of progenitor, and in fact, he says, listen, I gave him that blessing, but okay. Since you're so, emotionally distraught, right? Yep.
Again, because I have twins myself, I just keep thinking, if they weren't a set of twins, this would have played out completely differently anyway. The fact that they're born at the same time, maybe a minute apart, it's just sort of.
Yeah.
Firstborn, I don't know.
Yeah. So what if it doesn't be Raj? Did we lose the thingy or?
Yeah.
Well, you were getting it back though. It's Raj, he's on the case, I'm not worried. Mitzi.
So at some point, somewhere, not in this one, I guess, but I don't know where. But God says, Jacob I love, Esau I hated. That's in our translation of it. Is that in the Torah?
It's not in the 5 books of Moses, no.
Okay.
No. That it's in Psalms. It's in Psalms. Yeah, it's in Psalms. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it doesn't exactly say, it doesn't say hated.
That's one translation.
Yeah, no, but there is a proclivity, right? So, but Esau here, poor Esau. So what's the question? Look at verse 38. Esau said to his father, have you but one blessing? And Esau wept aloud. So he doesn't want to conflict, right? So the crying, his outward sobbing summons another blessing. Look at what Orach Chaim says, which he interesting pairs with what he said before. Who's reading? Jake.
Actually, there were blessings Isaac could have bestowed, but he perceived to take his future enemy, Esau would be cursed. Cursed by they who cursed you. Isaac was thus reluctant.
Right? Why? Because that was the blessing meant for the line of Abraham. And the line of Abraham was going to need that blessing if they were going to survive the centuries of oppression. Cursed be they who curse you. Needed that hope. Okay, maybe. But the Malbim again comes back to what he's saying. Clearly, he's a father of many children. He was. Because what does he say, Dave? Give us that as well.
Father, enable me to also achieve wealth and sustenance in this world, independently, not in the shadow of Jacob. Bless me as a father blesses each of his children individually.
Yeah, come on. So you gave him the big blessing. Give me something.
So here's the problem I have with this Pasha.
Tell me, please.
So, we're parents. We've all made mistakes.
Yep.
Isaac, whether he knew what was going on or not, that's one thing. But there's no effort here of reconciliation by Isaac saying to his sons, somehow I was tricked, I made a mistake. I want to do it differently. I want you guys to be good with each other, and I want you guys to be able to reconcile the differences that you have so that you come together and be strong.
So listen, you go to a great Broadway play, and it's the end of the first scene. How do you feel? You feel such anxiety and inner angst because of like the dynamic that's going on in the family. You want to see the second act. The Bible's a great Broadway play and then some, right? So it wants us to say, how could this happen? Can't they resolve this stuff?
Exactly.
Right? But they're not going to resolve it. Not right now. Just remain calm, right? But what Norman, right? Watch what Norman does for us, right? So Clarence, give us the Norman. This is Norman Cohen, my teacher, our teacher. He says,
Isaac does indeed have a blessing left. Yet in the process of blessing him, Isaac confirms Jacob's hegemony over Esau. At the very moment, he underscores the differences between them. The older shall indeed serve the younger. Isaac also gives each in part the very same blessing. As different as the brother's fate shall be, they will be forever connected.
Yeah, so, and Norman goes on to talk about in his book about the struggles of stories in Genesis. The blessing is almost the same. It's virtually the same. Little difference, virtually the same. God, not God. But it's still on, so he connects them in life, different as they are.
But why did they leave out the last verse?
Go ahead, where?
But when you grow rested, you shall break his yoke from your neck.
Yeah, what I mean, why don't they leave that out?
Why do they leave it out?
Right.
I mean,
Why don't they comment?
Why don't they comment on it?
Oh, they do comment on it. They do. If I could give you commentary, yeah. The commentary is almost all right. right. Sort of, this is proof of the eternal oppression by the enemies of Israel. They go to Rome, they go to the Assyrians, again, this is seen as because everybody reads this as the Jews are always going to be clopped on the head. They're always going to be oppressed. They're always going to be made to be other. They're always, so, yeah, it's
But I
a book.
read it completely differently.
How do you read it?
What it says, but when you grow rested, you should break his yoke from your neck. Whose yoke is going to be broken?
Esau's yoke.
Right.
When this blessing is given to Esau.
Okay, so whose yoke is going to be broken? Jacob's
Jacob's yoke's going to be broken. Right.
On Esau.
On Esau, yeah. So Esau, so it says Esau, in fact, will not be serve Jacob. Right. He will be able to be, and as we see, fast forward, chapter 33, right? Esau's going to show up 20 years later, and Billy said it last night. He's going to say, because seeing your face is like seeing the face of God. Who's gonna be the guy who's really blessed at that moment? Esau.
Right, so that's what I mean.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Yeah.
So this was not Jacob's blessing that Isaac had in his back pocket and just reversed the names. This clearly would never have been given to Jacob.
Right. Because when Isaac had said that to Jacob? No, not at all. This was a blessing meant for Esau. So in some ways, it came out of his father. Maybe it was prompted not the blessing that God was delivering through him, but it was a blessing that came from inside somehow. Right? Dave, real quick.
So is this maybe so that Esau didn't run wild and go crazy, rampaging over nations and killing people and.
I mean, maybe it was just predictive of the kind of, it does say he's going to live by the sword. Right. It does say you're going to be a man of the field always. You're going to be able to defend yourself very well. Never worry about that. Here's the blessing Serpent gave, or here's the commentary Serpent gave in 1987. Man, 1987. Right, I was 28. Isaac was blind, all right, but it was not only his eyesight that prevented him from seeing. How often do we close our eyes to the true nature of our children? By the way, this is a year before Gabe was born, or 9 months before Gabe was born. How often do our projected goals, our vicarious life aims, our unrealized hopes become the already in place life plan of our own offspring? Isaac and Rebecca spent a lifetime molding their kids to fit what they recognized as prophetic destiny. Esau, the hairy red hunter, let's buy him a bow and arrow. Jacob, what a lovely kid, bright, even clever. A heel sneak, deceptive? No, not our Jacob. Do we see the unique potential of each of our children? Can we find the ability within ourselves to allow them to actualize their God-given potential on their own terms? In the end, we see Isaac's eyes were open, yes, to the divine promise to bless Jacob, passing the covenant on that God sealed with Abraham, but to his other son as well. For Isaac knew that Esau would come running, distraught, afraid. Have you but one blessing? Father, please bless me too. To give Jacob the blessing of the firstborn, this was God's will. But to find it within his heart, to offer a special blessing on behalf of Esau, this was the love of a parent with perspective. God decreed but one blessing. Isaac found he had two to offer. We who rear children and grandchildren all suffer from blindness to one degree or another. The challenge is to see beyond it, to see through the lens of love, as Isaac finally managed to do. In their own unique ways, each of our children, our grandchildren, are wonderfully gifted. Each of them heirs to the birthright, a covenant that forever connects them, each worthy of a blessing meant especially for them. May our vision be clear, and may the blessings we offer truly bring blessing to each of our children, enabling them to grow into the blessings they are destined to become. So I wrote this when the boys were like 2.5, right? And who the heck knew what they were going to be? By this time, crazily, we knew they were going to be really smart because they were starting to read, right? So the boys could read by the time they were 3. They also could tear a room apart in around 20 seconds, right? My brother David knows, right? So they were amazing, and they were similar but very different, right, in their life sort of perspectives. So did we give what? No, we didn't give. We gave each of our children a blessing that they merited. But oftentimes we typecast our kids, and not even our kids, right? We could be teachers, we could be grandparents, we could be an uncle or an aunt, and we say, oh yeah, that's the one. So we predetermine. Maybe not a good thing. Jake.
I think it takes real strength of character to recognize people for who they are and what their qualities and characteristics and personality are.
Yeah.
And I think it's very, very difficult for parents, teachers, everybody to be able to do that, but I think it takes real strength of character.
Yes, I love that in our play of Chevrah Torah this morning, the backdrop music is coming in just as you're making that comment, right? Right, so there's something beautiful about it. It does take strength of character, and here's the flip side of all this. Right, our parents give us things that are blessings and beautiful blessings, and they also give us what I would call our mixed bags of blessings, right? Some are blessings that they think are blessings, and we think not so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, not so much. Harry, you want to be Larry Hoffman? And then, wait, Michael, did you have something on this one, or you want to comment now, or you want to wait?
Yeah, I would. I just wanted to say, I'm wondering about Isaac's blindness, you know. His Cooney says he shuddered because he acquiesced in knowing that God wanted Jacob to receive the blessing. I wonder if it's because he realizes that actually he's just a pawn. He's just being used by the destiny that has been marked out for him, just as he realized when he was almost sacrificed. And I think one of the readings of his eyes were dim to see is his eyes were dim from seeing, not to see, but it was actually his seeing that had made him blind.
Yeah. So he saw all too well, is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. And that this is what makes him shudder. What am I? I'm just the tool through which, you know, it goes to Jacob. And
and Harry would, I think, agree that in the Akedah, he was that same, in a way, pawn, right, in the greater scheme.
Right.
So I think Isaac being a well digger, you have to have a certain amount of insight. You can't just go ahead and start digging wells all over.
You got to know where to dig.
You got to know where to dig, and you got to figure it out. And I think that translates all the way through his life.
Okay, so that he knew.
He not only knew, he was playing it along, and he played
Okay.
it beautiful.
All right.
Just based on his background. You know?
All right, Harry, give us the Larry Hoffman, and then we'll go before the show to a couple comments.
The mixture of blessing and curse received by Isaac and Rebekah's offspring represents the human condition. We all emerge from childhood hoping for blessing, but sometimes settling for less. Freud was not the first to discover the baggage we carry from the time when we are children. These parental scenes of biblical blessing do that very well. So too does the Torah remind us that the sins of the fathers are visited upon the children. It is not just what our parents exclusively wish upon us. We suffer subtly as well from more insidious parental behavior that becomes part and parcel of who we are. But the story is not over. 2 weeks from now, Esau makes a comeback as an adult. When Jacob seeks reconciliation to the point of giving Esau half his fortune, Esau appears with a retinue of followers in fortune, saying, "Have enough, my brother. You may keep what is yours." It is now Esau, not Jacob, who displays maturity of character and serenity of mind, as Jacob himself concedes when he acknowledges, "Seeing your face is like seeing the face of God."
Little more, we got a little more.
Apparently, the mixed blessing of childhood is not cumulative. Indeed, the Malvine insists that the most significant blessings of all must be acquired on their own, not inherited with our parents. Parenthood is difficult. We muster what wisdom we have to bless our children and some fail. Childhood is tenuous. We received what our parents give us, blessing without curse, we hope, but more likely a mixed bag of both. Either way, we make our own way in the world. And whether our childhood made us feel blessed or cursed, can achieve a life of goodness as adults, worthy of being called a blessing.
So Larry Hoffman's trying to tell us something, right? That we get a mixed bag of blessing. and that we can outgrow it as we see Esau or grow into the blessing we need to become, right, Freddie?
It reminds me of what we were talking about, one of last, Torah, some have her about likes like a tell sandwich, bitter and sweet.
Yeah.
And also prophetic, and I think perhaps timely, in that Esau is great in the sense that he's not focusing on revenge. He's like looking to hope for the future.
Yeah.
That things can get better.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not, being hostage to.
Right, though at the very end, when this all happens, revenge was in his mind, let's be honest, revenge is in his mind, right? Zevi, Susan, I don't know if Philip has here.
Yeah, I wanna go back about when you grow rested, you should break his yoke.
Yep, yeah.
You as us.
Yeah, Esau's gonna break right.
You as us.
That's right, that's right.
So it's a kind of a justification for anti-Semitism.
Which is what the rabbis all comment on. Here's the irony. In chapter 33, what happens? They meet, right? They hug. And what does Esau do? It says it. He kisses him on his neck. How interesting, right? Is he breaking the yoke of his neck? Or is he breaking the bitterness that Jacob may feel and the animosity or the estrangement and saying, I'm going to take away that. So it could be that Esau is leading with love and saying, no, I'm not going to let you hate me, even though I should hate you. We're going to be brothers.
That's good.
That would be my twist, right, on the text, right? It says in the text, he kissed him on his neck, Susan.
There's a series called All the Light I Cannot See.
Yes.
Right?
I know, yeah.
And
yeah.
it is beautiful, and I'm addressing what Michael had to say about Isaac seeing, because it really approaches a blind woman, young woman, and what she is able to experience.
Right.
And he was able to experience so much more than what he was saying about his sons.
Yes. Yeah. So he was his blindness made him more attuned. Right? More attuned. So Rachel Barenblatt, who is the Velveteen Rabbi. Philip did have his hand. Go ahead.
I guess just a few things. One, first, when Esau kisses Jacob on the neck and Jacob says he's gonna go one place, if he goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
He's still deceiving at that point.
Yeah.
But my other point is I could kind of channel Arnie on this.
Yeah, this is what Arnie needs, by the way, to be channeled in more than one place.
What disturbs me a little bit is that we're so focused on what's going on with the men that we're ignoring that this comes from Rebecca.
Yes.
It's Rebecca's doing that does this. We're trying to say that Isaac knew when that's not the question. The question is, what was going on with Rebecca that she would do this? And I'll give you an example. I know not directly, but I'm told by my brother-in-law about this family in which the mother of the family is the son's study partner for everything that he does. So when he went through grade school, she would study with him. When he went through high school, she would study with him. She's his karuta. When he went through college, she would study with him. He is now at the Mayo Clinic as a new medical intern, and she's continuing remotely to study with him. And that reminds me of Rebecca.
Yeah, no, again, there's no question that this is okay, but I gotta get to the soda, I apologize, because what is the soda giving us, right? The soda is telling us something very unique. Very unique. We're not, if Rebecca were our focus, I would go there. No, I agree with you, by the way, as I said at the beginning, and as you heard last night, right? Both Gabe and I said, like, well, you heard Gabe's line, it's a great line. He said, my mother is probably the real hero of this story. Right, exactly. It's true. Right? So Rebecca, I would say, is the divine orchestrator. But Rachel Barenblatt puts us where we need to be, which is, what does Esau teach us about being a blessing and about that perseverance that helps us become the blessing we can? Right? I didn't call anybody online to read. Who wants to read online? Virginia, you want to start us?
Okay. Reading this week's Torah portion Toldot, my heart goes out to Esau. His father Isaac senses that death is near, so he sends Esau out hunting so he can prepare some game and receive his father's innermost blessing. When he arrives at Isaac's knee, he discovers that Isaac has given that blessing already to Jacob. Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Asks Esau, and Isaac replies, but I have made him master over you. I have given him all his brothers for servants and sustained him with grain and wine. What then can I still do for you, my son? Esau says to his father, have you but one blessing, father? Bless me too, and weeps aloud. The commentator known as the Radak embellishes Esau's words. Can you not even grant me a blessing concerning any aspect of life which you have not given him? Isaac blesses him to enjoy the fat of the earth and the dew of heaven above. By your sword you will live, and you shall serve your brother. Isaac continues, but when you grow restive, you shall break his yoke from your neck. Someone else. Okay, go ahead.
Michael, you want to keep going? Go ahead, since you're right there.
Okay. Isaac blesses him to enjoy the fat of the earth.
Yeah,
And
one paragraph down, one paragraph down. Isaac is limited.
Isaac is limited by his own zero-sum thinking and his preoccupation with the idea that one of his sons has to come out on top. Having blessed Jacob to rule over his brother, now he seems at a loss for what to say to Esau. Jewish tradition invites us to identify with Jacob, who will eventually be named Yisrael, one who wrestles with God, the name that inheres in our peoplehood. But I invite us to identify with Esau. Feel what it's like to be the older brother who ought, by all rights, to inherit land, blessing, good fortune. The brother who did all the right things and now learns that he faces servitude rather than promise. When we inhabit Esau's place rather than Jacob's, how does Isaac's blessing make us feel? It's easy to see Isaac's blessing to his older son as a kind of backhanded slap. You'll live by the sword and your brother will dominate you until you overthrow him. But I think we can find more in it if we try. The first part of Isaac's blessing is the same for both of his sons. Isaac blesses both of his sons with the dew of heaven, which our tradition understands as a symbol of grace. Torah, too, is compared to dew. Dew is the sustaining abundance that arises even in the desert, and grace is everyone's birthright, even when we're in tough spiritual places. We, too, can receive Isaac's blessing of dew, sustenance and nourishment for our tender places, kindness and wisdom to balm our sorrows and uplift our hearts.
So she's drashing, but she's doing a beautiful job trying to say, maybe in this moment, even Esau, with the blessing not intended for him, but given to him, can find a blessing in that, right? Shayna, you want to read a little bit?
Sure.
Okay.
The next part of Isaac's blessing has to do with living by the sword. The Radak says this is the part of the blessing that is most exclusively Esau's. We can understand it as the blessing of strength and prowess, the ability to defend oneself. At times, when we may feel anxious about those who seek power over us, whether in our families or our workplaces or the public sphere, we can draw strength from Isaac's blessing of skilled and ready self-defense. And finally, Isaac's blessing offers the certainty that the day will come when Esau will serve no longer. His future may contain servitude to his brother, but that servitude will not last forever. This may be the most important part of Isaac's blessing because it contains the seeds of hope. At times, when we feel subjugated or mistreated, we can draw strength from Isaac's blessing that things will get better. Isaac's blessing reminds Esau and us that the tight places in life are temporary and will pass.
All right, a little bit more on the top. And now I think she's going to connect this, right, to how we are Esau as well.
We all have times when we feel like Esau, cheated and mistreated, in tight strings through no fault of our own. We all know what it's like to be dealt a hand of cards that is not the one we had hoped for. To receive something that may not feel like a blessing, a bad diagnosis, or a door that closes, or a relationship that ends. In those moments, we may feel like Esau, who came to his father seeking a sweet blessing and received a bitter one instead. But even bitter blessings have the capacity to open us up to abundance. And developing the skill of learning to find the abundance concealed within the disappointment, the silver lining concealed within the rain cloud, the gifts concealed within the blessing of the thing we didn't ask for and didn't want, can serve us well when times are hard, and even more so when times are sweet. My prayer for each of us is this: when the rains don't come, may there be dew, sustenance that nourishes even when our surroundings are spiritually dried up. When we are in tight straits, may adversity help us hone our strength and our skills. And when others act as though they have power over us, may we take comfort in the knowledge that our calling is to serve not those who claim dominance, but rather the source of all. May we take comfort in knowing that we are not put on this earth to be diminished, but to be nourished and to grow until we can break the shackles of injustice. May we take comfort in knowing that even or especially when the night seems dark, we can have faith in the coming of the dawn. May Isaac's blessing for Esau this year impel us to awareness of our inner resources and our gifts. May our tradition nourish us like the dew, and may we release ourselves into the highest forms of service, and in so doing, find faith in our own becoming. Amen.
So again, I love Rachel Berman. What is she saying to us though? Which is no small thing, and it's what Esau does. What does Jacob do? Jacob goes. What time is it? Oh man, I have no time. What does Jacob do? He goes off and he finally grows up and becomes himself. Right? Right? Do we hear what Esau does? No, we don't know what Esau does. All we know is 21 years later, Esau's coming with 400 men and a lot of power. Jacob is bowing every time he approaches, and he calls Esau my lord. Who's blessed then? Esau has learned to take the bitter and the disappointment and make it sweet. He says, I'm not gonna, he said, fine. You know what? I have no problem with this. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna be me. And through that, right? Self-affirming confidence in life, I'm gonna embrace what I can and grow into the blessing I was meant to be.
When I think about the profound psychopathology of all the players here, especially Isaac, how do you get past that? And the idea that he could try to be better knowingly or by trickery, the fact is he passed something on to the next generations that maybe they thought it was a curse originally, but it opened them up to be more than they were.
Yeah, I think that's true. I would, I just, again, and I know I would be careful to label Isaac's, blindness as psychopathology, because I think I suffer from the same thing. I think we all do. I think we all, certainly, we don't have to be a parent to suffer from it. We typecast, we say that, oh, that's the person who, so but I do think that Isaac had a greater vision. Mike.
Yeah, I think what for me is maybe missing a little bit in this commentary, although at the end, perhaps not so much, is the idea that justice is not just going to arise on its own.
Yeah.
You've got to work for it. You've got to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so when she uses phrases like, the kind of the passive voice, bad times will pass. The idea of that there's some kind of transcendent justice that is just going to manifest itself.
Right. Yeah, and think about how great this is. Jacob goes away from his brother, a different direction, and what does he suffer? He gets cheated up the wazoo. Exactly. Right? So, you know what? Sometimes there is karma, right? Sometimes, right? I pray that it, happens, as well in our own, sphere in our own day, but there is karma, right? But I do think you're right. right? And Esau takes the bull by the horns and creates his own life, right? Nobody's gonna give us, a silver platter and a trick. No.
Because he's a true Jew.
Well, here's irony, right? So Jacob struggles, Esau, right? So, right, Esau's the guy that, for me, is the role model here. At this moment, it's Esau, right? Freddie, then Jacob, and then Missy.
It reminded me, Jeff, what you said a few weeks ago about Shuba. It's like Esau's taking a bad situation and he's preserving it. He's making it laugh, making something good out of something that's bad.
Yeah, which is hard, which is very hard, because he could just be the victim for the rest of his life. He could just be the victim. Yep, Jane.
Not only did Esau play the hand that was dealt, but he led by example, which is another important thing to remember.
Yeah. The way, yes, I'm gonna Mitzi comment, then I'm gonna comment on why I love Esau. You didn't? Are you just stretching? So why do I love Esau? I love Esau because, as opposed to Jacob, who's always playing his cards close to the chest, Esau's just way out there. And I think it's very hard for us as human beings to really be authentically present and real. For some of us, not all of us, with our emotions, with our feelings. Not that we want to hit people over the head with it. Esau is real. Jacob is hiding a layer beneath. Jacob has to grow to become Israel. He's not Israel yet. Right? So right at this point, at this moment in time in our story, our saga, our Broadway play, Esau's the guy who, for me, is the hero. Esau is much more like us than Jacob. I hope. Next week Thanksgiving weekend. It is. I have great Torah. If you think this was dysfunctional, wait till you hear next. Shabbat shalom. Thank you for last night. Thank you guys for coming.
Shabbat shalom.
We have Minion. Where's Minion? Minion's in the library. Come upstairs, service with me.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Thank you so much.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom, guys.